Turn to John 17 and read 4 verses as we open the lesson. John 17. Begin at verse 20 down through verse 23. I do not ask on behalf of these alone, but for those also who believe in me through their word, that they all may be one, even as you, Father, are in me and I in you, that they also may be one in us, so that the world may believe that you sent me. The glory which you have given me, I have given to them, that they may be one, just as we are one. I and them and you and me, they may be perfect, that they may be perfect in unity, so that the world may know that you sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. This is the second part of the lesson that we began in the first sermon this morning, and that is our text, and then we're going to continue with 5 more points. And we're wanting to build that unity. We're wanting to set the stage for it, is the way I like to say it. And as we mutually work on this, whether you're thinking of a single relationship like with your mate or a child or a friend, or on a congregational basis, these are the things that contribute to that unity that is so delightful. So we'll start with Galatians 6:2 on acts of kindness. Bear one another's burdens that you may fulfill the law of Christ. And this is one of the acts of kindness we do. We help people out when they are overwhelmed, when they've got so much going on that one individual can't handle it. We're there. And it's a selflessness. It is being there not expecting a payback. Because if there is a need for a payback, it's going to come if the unity's there. It's just naturally going to flow. When you have a need, then, your needs will be met. When there are other people have a need, if the unity there, then it naturally flows out of you to them. And it's not something you definitely don't want to get into keeping score. It's just a selflessness where Christ said in Matthew 20:28, just the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve and give his life a ransom for many. And that's what we do. We serve. We help one another. That's the whole idea. That's one of the things that just builds that wonderful sense of togetherness that makes it a delight to come together with those, whoever you have in mind. And it's all kinds of acts. It's the little bitty acts that we really discussed in our Bible class quite a bit. And then it can be great big acts or anything in between. Just those acts of kindness that say, I appreciate you. I acknowledge you. I'm glad you're in my life. I respect you. I see you. Those kind of things. So the generous man will be prosperous, and he who waters will himself be watered. And I'm going to use this Proverbs 11:25 and say, when it comes to acts of kindness, be generous. Go around sprinkling sunshine everywhere, however you want to say it, because you will be watered in return. Now, let's be a little realistic here. Not every seed of kindness you plant is going to grow. It's just kind of like a garden. You plant a row of seeds, some of them come up, some of them don't. Don't worry too much about the ones that don't come up. Worry about the ones that are growing and think, how can you cultivate them? How can you work deeper into them and really get all the fruit of that unity out of it? Again, Acts 20:35, it's more blessed to give than receive. The people who can catch that, the people who really believe that, the people that experience that, are the people that live the greatest lives of joy and get the most out of the unity. And again, Ecclesiastes 4:9-10, where he says, 2 are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. There's your unity. And if either one of them falls, the one will lift up his companion. And that's what we're there for. We're there to help one another get on forward. And so sometimes you stumble. Whatever your problem is, maybe you're sick, maybe there's some other kind of thing you're dealing with. And there's people to lean upon. And then when other people are having trouble, you're there for them. It's just a mutual give and take. And when it's done to cultivate that sense of that love and joy, then you quit keeping score. It's not about the score. It's how can we grow this feeling that makes my life feel so good. That's where we're at. So John 13:34, he says, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another as I've loved you. Isn't that brutal? Isn't he just being such a bully when he tells us to love one another? Absolutely not. Love, when it flows, everybody wants to be in love. Love makes the world go round, as the poet says. And one of the best ways to demonstrate your love is just those little acts of kindness. Whatever they may be, no matter how little bitty they may be. Because it's not the act so much as it is the validation, that appreciating the value of another person, seeing and caring for them. That's really what it's at. And if it is all in little acts of kindness, let me just say, Merry Christmas, great. Isn't that wonderful? How easy is that to do the little bitty things? And they're often just a matter of seconds. So one lady I knew years back, she had a frustration because her husband would never load the dishwasher. I doubt he ever unloaded it either, but I got curious about that once. And I thought, I'm going to time how long it takes me to unload the dishwasher. And I looked at the clock and I timed it. And it took me 3 minutes. I thought, wow, what a sacrifice. No, I didn't. Isn't it awesome when you can do something? Take the trash out. How long does that take? I don't know. Get your stopwatch out and give it a try. You know, in my house, I'm up to a whole 2 minutes maybe. You know, there's little acts of kindness. Be glad. Be excited that you can demonstrate your love in something that is so easy and often free to do. And in that process, and I'm thinking marriage and congregation, it nurtures our unity and it brings us closer together and we just feel good. Number 7, we're going to share values and goals. Two can't walk together unless they're agreed. That's Amos 3:3 from the New King James Version. So you got to have that common ground, common beliefs, common goals. You can be friendly with people who believe things different than you do, and do be friendly with those people. But to say you're going to really have unity, no, that's not going to happen. I've known couples, and you know them too, where one was a member of our church, let's say, and the other was a member of some other denomination out there. And they had a marriage that went past 50 years. They got along. And I thought, well, isn't that wonderful? And I thought, no, isn't that sad? Because the one place, in my opinion, where unity matters the most, they never had it. She never got to sit next to her man on the pew and reach over and hold his hand and think, boy, I'm glad for this spiritual leader. There was always something missing there. But when you get this common belief, this common, we stand together on so much, it's just, it's wonderful. You don't go along just to get along. You are becoming one. So you have to have honesty here. Again, no hidden agendas. We talked about that a lot in the first lesson. You can't be manipulating people. You can't be setting them up. This is not a chess game where I'm trying to get her over here on this square so I can do something over here on that square, or my brothers or my neighbors or anybody else. This is that. The agenda, if there is one, ought to be open and honest, and the agenda is what Christ prayed for. That we all would become one as He and the Father are one. So we have a shared love for spiritual growth versus coddling. I don't like coddling. Somebody's suffering, we're going to be nice. But you know, there's some people that don't want to grow. But let me tell you, spiritual growth is hard. He didn't say straight and narrow is the way for no reason. He didn't say take up your cross and follow me for no reason. He didn't use that cross metaphor for no reason. And there's some folks that just want to sit in the corner and kind of hide. Those are the ones, of course, we want that unity, but we want to bring them up, get them up to speed. James 1:5, if you lack wisdom, ask God. Not sure how you fit into this whole picture and it goes beyond just values and goals. Pray about it. Sit down and pray about it. And do something simple. Just sit down tonight, whenever you do your prayer, and just pray. Lord, how can I contribute more to the unity of my church family? What can I do different? Not what they can do different, because you can't control anybody else. But what can you do different? This is segue nicely into the praying part. Where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, I'm there in their midst. And I know this doesn't say praying overtly, but what's Christ doing here? He's watching. He's listening. He hears our prayers.
And so he's part of this unity. Remember the unity. I know we get off in kind of a spiritual thing, but we're all trying to become one, and not just one with us, but us one and one with the Father in Christ. We're trying to create a, can I call it a global unity? That may not be a great word. And prayer allows us to learn to get into each other's lives a little bit and share together and share concerns and have a little empathy for one another, a little sympathy depending on the situation. And it opens a way for other people. I know it's small, but small's not bad. I don't have a problem with small at all. So just nurture that unity. Philippians 4:6. Be anxious for nothing, but in everything by prayer. So I know you're going to pray about your things, but pray about other people's things. And I don't want you to brag, but I also don't want you to keep it secret. This is a little odd way to say it, isn't it? Now and then, when somebody's really been going through something and you've been praying for them, just drop them a note, or as you're hugging them for you or something, you go, hey, I've been praying for you. Just, we need to know because we can't read each other's minds. And so, like we talked about gratitude, it needs to be expressed. And when you're praying for other people and somebody says, I've been praying for you, how do you feel when somebody says, I've been praying for you? Feel good? Feel included? Feel valued? Appreciated? I think that's great. That will help. So we pray for needs and we also pray in celebration. See, look, be anxious for nothing, but in everything, by prayer, supplication, with thanksgiving. Don't forget to have your prayer times of just straight up thanksgiving. And it doesn't have to be for what happened in your life, but for good things that happen in other people's lives. Thank God for the blessings you see unfolding in their lives. Now, number 9, you're going to have to watch your time limits. You're going to love your neighbor as yourself. So I want you to be friendly to everybody, but you can't be best friends with everybody. I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. It sounds really nice, but you can't. How many friends you got on Facebook? Think about it. Of that list of friends, how many of them do you really know? How many of them would you recognize if you bumped into them at Walmart? You see, you can have a long list of friends on Facebook or where you're at, but you can't be best friends with everybody. You really have a limited amount of time that you can give people. This is quite an eye opener because in America we want to do everything all the time with everybody, and you can have a lot of acquaintances, and that's not wrong. A lot of acquaintances, but research suggests about 5 really, really close inner circle, as I call them. Some would bump it up to 12. I think 12 is kind of pushing it because it takes a lot of time to really have a deep relationship with other people. It takes a lot of investment. You only have 24 hours, right? Now, maybe you're one of those lucky people who can get by on 6 hours of sleep. If you are, I'm envious. I cannot get by on 6 hours of sleep, not regularly. I need my 8 hours of sleep, and you pretty much count on it. And so that leaves me, 16 other hours. And then I've got other things I got to do. And so when you start looking at your time where you can invest in people, there's not a lot. Now, acquaintances, numbers at the top end are all over the place, but 1,000 acquaintances maybe. But very few very close friends. And I'd like you to just kind of ponder that this afternoon. I don't know where you're going to kind of draw your inner circle and where you're going to call it, but how many people are really, really, you'd call really close friends? Now, if you're married and your mate's not on that list, we got a whole other issue already. Because that unity that ought to be there. That's the first one I want you to work on. But then, after your mate, so there's one. You got a kid or 2 or 3, you know. You got maybe an in-law or 2 or a grandparent or 2. You know, we're up to 5 pretty quick. But how many of those people are you really, really emotionally close with, spiritually close with? And maybe you go beyond that. That's great if you do. But focus primarily on that inner circle. And I want you to go beyond that, but treasure that inner circle. Those people that you can open up and really talk to, you can cry with, and I'm not just talking about at the funeral home. We all cry at the funeral home, but I'm talking about through the process of life. And you take those, whatever you numbered those being your relation, and you guard those. I mean, you guard them with everything you've got because they're precious. They protect it, value it, be responsible. I mean, look, it takes two to make it work. And if there's three or four in that circle and they all mesh together in the way that we'd love for them to do, it's because all three or four of them are working toward that same goal of unity. And each one has to own a certain amount of that responsibility. I can't just put it all off on my wife and go, well, if she wants us to have a great marriage, it's on her. That's crazy. God made me the leader. So if you're the man, take the lead. Be the man. And then friendships beyond that. Own your part of responsibility. Nurture and cultivate it. Number 10, this is our last one. We'll wind the lesson up. I hope you don't mind if it stops a little early. Anybody tired from the meeting? You sat on that pew every single night, all week long, and he preached longer than I do. Did you notice that? But since he was a visiting preacher, he's more engaging also. A couple of times I looked at my watch and I thought, no way, it's not 10 after. But it was. But, he just drove you in. Anyway, so avoid toxic people. Do not associate with a man given to anger or go with a hot-tempered man, or you will learn his ways and find a snare for yourself. Proverbs 22:24. You protect yourself. There's some people out there that are hurting. They're hurting bad, and they will hurt you. They will mess your life up. What happens with them, this is your little brief psychology lesson, they have baggage, and it's valid. I don't mean to say it's not valid. I mean, this happened when they were 6, or they were 16, or 26, and now they're 60 plus, and they're still dragging this baggage through their life because they never ever learned how to process it. They never learned how to deal with it. They just thought they had a ball and chain wrapped around their ankle, and they got to drag this ugly stuff with them the rest of their life. And instead of resolving it and going into it, which is, you take some bravery there, some of them play the pity card all the time. You just don't know how bad I had it when I was a kid. You're 50 years old. You're not a kid anymore. That happened 40 years ago or 50 years ago. Get over it finally. So your mama spanked you when your brother actually did it and you were the innocent victim. Let it go. The teacher said something to you ugly, or you got an F when you should have got a C, but she messed up and you got grounded. It's time to get over that nonsense. But people will carry it all the way to the grave. Poor, pitiful me. My mom and daddy divorced when I was little, and I'm so scarred. And they just drag it on. My mama was an alcoholic. My daddy was an alcoholic. Just pick it. Look, that's ugly stuff. It really is. I don't want to drag that for another 20 years to my tombstone. It happened. It's over. But see, toxic people are still angry about it. They're still looking for their vengeance. Some won't get even. Now, the problem in my case of the childhood abuses that happen is those people are dead. Or they're not in my life anymore. And they don't care. And they long ago forgot. And so I can't get even with them, especially the ones that are dead, right? And so I've got my anger and my self-pity and my vengeance, and I'm envious of people who I think never had any trouble. That's another story. And so I see somebody who looks to be doing good. I just can't stand that. It's not fair. They're having a great life. Well, number one, I don't know they had a great life. Because I know a lot of people know how to get over it, process it, and move on. What happened was ugly. That was yesterday. This is today. I'm looking forward. They may have had a horrendous past. I don't know. So you get around somebody who's toxic and they're still dragging all their sad, sorry, pity me baggage around with them. Sorry, it sounds so cold about that. But look, adults need to learn to get over this stuff. Watch out for them. Be careful. Don't be deceived. Bad company is going to corrupt good morals. You don't want to be playing the crybaby card for the rest of your life. Look, You're 16, you're 21, it happened yesterday. I'm going to share tears with you. That's brand new. You're 21, and it happened, excuse me, you're my age, you're 66, and it happened when you were 13. Yeah, you should have worked through that a long time ago. And if you plan on getting over it, and this is what some people do, well, I'm going to work through it someday. I plan on getting past this. What are you waiting for? Why would you carry it any longer than you needed to? If I'm planning on getting over it, let me get over it. Now, it'll always still be there if I want to go back and get it. But I don't want to be that toxic person. Ugly things happen. They really happen to all of us at some level. We all have our potential to be toxic, and it's no good. But if you get around some of these people, be polite. I want you to be kind, but keep your distance. Understand when you're around someone toxic. And it doesn't have to be the most extreme. Maybe they're just gossips all the time. Keep your distance. You don't want to become a gossip. Maybe they're a perpetual complainer. Nobody ever does anything right because not everybody does everything exactly the way I think it should be. That's crazy. Toxic people. Stay away. Do you know somebody that always sees the worst side of everything and they can never see the good side of it? Toxic people. Do you want to live that life? Do you want to be the person that every situation you get into, it's like, oh, me. I don't know how we're going to get through this one. Well, I think it's the end of the world right here. Look, you and I have survived literally every single thing life has thrown at us to this date. We have survived it. And whatever's coming down the pike, I will survive it, or I'll die and go to heaven. Be careful who you hang around, because they're going to have an influence on you. And if you don't like that influence, keep your distance. Be polite. We do good unto all people, Galatians 6:10. We have an opportunity. We do good to all people. Everybody. No matter how crazy or messed up they are. But I'm going to keep my distance. I'm going to guard my heart. And I'm going to protect myself. And the best I can, I'm going to protect those who are in my inner circle. And we're going to build that unity. And we're going to grow that unity. So Proverbs 4:23. We're going to watch over our heart with all diligence, for out of it flows the springs of life. I got an image of the kind of old person I want to be. I'll just tell you real quick. I want to be that old person that, should have come to the nursing home someday and you come by and visit me. I'm just maybe a touch goofy and delightful and laughing. And when you leave, you're on the way out. I don't get to hear this part, but you're saying to whoever you came with, he's always so much fun. I just love going to see him. It makes me feel good. That's the kind of old person I want to be. Instead of the old person that when you leave, you go, whew, I got to take some ibuprofen. I'm hurting as much as they are now. So watch over your heart. So we're closing. Jesus prayed for unity. We're the only ones that get to answer his prayer. If our hearts are going to flow together in unity, whether we're talking about the family and a mother and a father and a son and a daughter and what all you have in your core unit there, that's the ones that decide. And if we're going to do it at a workplace, those are the ones that decide. We're going to do it here at the congregation. We're the only ones that can make the magic happen. And on a congregational basis, that means all of us working toward the same goal to live a life of unity that Jesus prayed for. Because that's what Christians do, right? We seek to fulfill the will of the Father. So, there's 2 lessons. If you missed the first one, go track it down on Facebook. We'll help you out there a little bit if we can. If you're in that straight and narrow road, you're carrying your cross, you're following Christ, you're in the learning process, stay the course. That's exactly where you're supposed to be. If you've not yet put Christ on in baptism, we're here to help you any way we can. All together we stand and sing.